Les, you'd been in a war zone before as a soldier in Korea. How did being a cameraman in Vietnam differ from that?
Well, a totally different situation, whereas the Korean War was fought on a peninsula which was divided right across, and so that the enemy was on one side of the dividing line and the friendlies were on the other, where, as against Vietnam, where you never knew where the unfriendly people were as compared to the friendly. Well, I always consider it as part of my job as a cameraman. Not part of the job, but as I sort of often say, I'd rather be there doing that sort of filming than filming baby shows in Sydney. And I think it's part of the thrill of achieving something, of showing the world what's happening and getting good pictures of what's going on.
What other motivation do you think was there in your going to Vietnam?
Well, as I say, it had been going on. A lot of my friends had been there as cameramen and worked there, and I just wanted to always hear of what it's like to be in a country like that in wartime, but to see it at first hand is a totally different thing. As I say, you can't convey, as I called it, the fear of the unknown. It's not as if it's like World War II in Europe, where there are actually troops in the streets or fighting hand to hand. It was the fight of the people that you couldn't see that was the problem, that you didn't know. As I said, a rumour went round that a lot of Viet Cong had infiltrated into Saigon, and at some time they were going to let off a lot of explosives, and these rumours sort of build up in your mind and that, and it does tend to make you a little bit uneasy,
How do you go about combating fear like that?
Well, I think that once you're on the job that, you're looking through the camera, and your sole aim is to get good pictures, and you sort of forget about that side of it. I think it's a time, say, if you're travelling anywhere by helicopter or coming back, it's that sort of relief that it's over. But at the time of actually filming, I'm sure that, as I said, you're looking for the best pictures that you can get.
Does that become another world when you're behind the screen looking through a camera? Like, I'm thinking in particular of that instance where you and Allan are both running for the helicopter and your lives at the time seemed like it depended upon it, but you continue to film.
Well, as I say, it's the opportunity. At that time, I thought it was the best way of expressing what the situation we were in and what we were seeing. I could have stood still and just held the camera, but it wouldn't be the same effect as actually running, and the camera's one of the people who are running.
How did you hold the camera then?
Well, if I remember correctly, whether I held it down by my side and working on a wide-angle lens with a lot of depth of focus with no worries, I just ran, set it, and ran with it, set the camera running.
Can you tell me briefly what the lead up to that actual instance?
Well, we'd been taken to a place called Xuan Loc, where there'd been a big battle a couple of days before by the South Vietnamese public relations people, and we landed there okay, but when we went to leave, there were a lot of refugees around, and as we attempted to board the helicopters, as I say, this is part of the fear of the unknown. They saw us trying to get away, and they
They figured times were bad.
Figured times were bad and said, right, we've got to get out too.
Les Wasley, the cameraman I was with, he was amazing for me that day. It was one of those lucky breaks that I got a cameraman who was dead cool, in fact far more experienced in that situation than I was. He'd fought in Korea as a soldier, so he'd seen war zones and he'd been through active action before, so he was, totally cool in the situation. He had a job to do and that's what he was doing, and to me that was a backbone of strength, because if he'd been freaking out I would have been worried.
Yeah,
but
right.
He was cool, and that sort of gave me confidence in a way too.
I know, to be filming as you're running down the road, knowing that even
That's
as you're
right.
filming that you might be making that copter.
That's right.
That's
Well, it was a
dedication.
very calculated decision. Les said, I'm going to stay back a bit on this one. I'm going to button on the camera and let it run. It'd be a nice shot to get this, and I'm going to try for it. So he did. He just, as the chopper came, he tucked it under his arm, pushed the button, and just ran with it under one arm behind me, and
Sure.
kept it buttoned on all the way. Yeah.
Well, I was glad to get out, because no matter how keen you are on your job or what you'd like to get as film, there's always your family at home, and you must sometimes think of them, And
How many kids and family do you
I
have?
have 2 children.
Yeah. You'd been in a war zone before as a soldier in Korea, I think.
That's right, yes. But this is a totally different thing, whereas in the forces or in the army, you're totally involved in it. You have a fair idea what's going on, where is safe and not safe. But in this situation, well, it was the guerrilla warfare, and it's a totally different warfare to direct confrontation with the enemy. But I must say, and I really mean this, that I got home and it took me weeks to get over this trip or filming. That most things I can take it or leave it, but the whole effect on it, and more so people coming up to you and saying, can you help me, and you weren't able to do anything for them. I tried in a couple of instances, but I think that affected me more than anything else, not the fighting or anything like that. It's just these people who were afraid that when the North did come they'd be killed, and just asking, not imploring to help them, and I couldn't do anything for them, and I think that affected me more than anything that I can remember in my life.
And my memories of Les, and I've worked with him now for a long time, but I mean, we formed a close bond, I think, a very strong friendship after that, because I mean, it was an amazing experience for both of us, and it was good that we shared it, and good that we worked together well, and that, I think, was a very big bond between us.
It tends to do that, doesn't it, when you're both putting your reality on the line? It seems that the cameraman and journalist or soundman, they do get a very tight sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't really liken it to any relationship that you'd have otherwise, I suppose.
No, that's right. It's I mean, it's a working relationship, but it's a strong one in the sense that you know, professionally you shared something where you both understood each other's job and you made it work. I mean, that's nice. It's one of the rare moments in television reporting.